Hello, welcome to the Gay Cruise and Travel Podcast with me, Just Joey T. Welcome back to another episode of this new podcast that I'm starting. Reminder, the video version of this podcast is available on YouTube. And also, you can listen to this podcast on all your favorite podcasting apps. Let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about the second of the two European cruises Atlantis just announced. In the last episode of the podcast, we talked about the August Med Cruise. So go listen to that last episode for all the details on that one. But just a quick FYI, that one is nearly sold out. So go onto Atlantis' website where you can see the information for both the cruise we're talking about today, which is going to be the July Barcelona to Lisbon cruise, and also that August Mediterranean cruise. Because if you are interested in that August cruise, you need to get on that ASAP right now, drop everything, get on the computer, go book it, call your travel agent, whatever you need to do, because that one is very nearly sold out. Hey, when was the last time you really took care of your skin? The skin is the largest organ in the whole human body and is doing so much for you. It protects you from germs and cooties. It keeps you warm when you're cold. It keeps you cool when you're hot. It's making vitamin D. It gives you the gift of touch and sensation. And that's just scratching the surface, so you better take care of it. I started my own skincare company, Surf Labs, to serve fun and functional skincare for everyone so that you can serve fun while serving face. Go to surflabs.co, SCRVELABS.co, or follow us at Surf Labs on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and discover how easy and fun it is to treat your skin right with Surf Labs. Today, we're going to focus on the July Med cruise, I guess also out of the Med. This starts from Barcelona and goes to Lisbon. So let's dig right into it. Starting with the basics. The dates for this one, it sets sail from Barcelona on Sunday, July 13th. And it doesn't come back to Barcelona. It's going to end in Lisbon in Portugal on Tuesday, July the 22nd. So sometimes I have heard of cases, unfortunately, where people book their flights to and from the cruise, assuming that the ship was going to come back to where it left at the start of the cruise. Very rare, but sometimes when sometimes it's unexpected when the cruise sets sail at the beginning from one place, but it ends in a completely different city or even different country. So this one goes from Barcelona at the start to Lisbon at the end after 9 nights. So the other August cruise was 10 nights. This was 9 nights. I think the slightly longer cruises, 7 days and 7 nights, is pretty standard for a cruise, at least in the U.S. A lot of the Mediterranean ones tend to run a little bit longer, 9 or 10 nights. So it's pretty standard here. Some of the ports of call, Marseille in France, there's an overnight in Ibiza. So it's overnight on Wednesday into Thursday. So even on Thursday, the ship doesn't leave until 7 p.m. So you can get in Wednesday night, hit up the clubs in Ibiza if that's your thing. Even if that's not your thing or you want more of Ibiza, the next day during the daytime, you can go to the beaches or do something during the daytime before the ship departs at 7 p.m. And it's going to go to Malaga in Spain. I'm hoping I'm not butchering these words. It's like typical Americans butchering European languages and names of European places. Seville in Spain, and then finally Casablanca in Morocco. So if we were to contrast this set of ports with the August cruise, the ports are all completely different. They kind of sort of sail to different parts of Europe and the Mediterranean. So there you go, a little bit of something for everyone. Whether the ports on this itinerary are to your liking, that's up to you. I have no preferences on the various ports. Let's talk about the ship. So this one, also like the August Med cruise, this one is on a Virgin Voyages ship. Slightly different ship. This one will be on the Scarlet Lady. This is actually the very first Virgin Voyages cruise ship that was ever built. All of the Virgin ships are the same design, basically. They're kind of sort of carbon copies of each other. Obviously, they have a few different copies of them to serve different cruises and routes. This particular one just happens to be the very first ship that Virgin has built and has sailed. So they actually finished building this one February of 2020, right before the pandemic. So because of that, it didn't do its first commercial paid sailing with paying passengers until October 2021. So the ship has only been in service for about 3-ish years. 2,700 maximum capacity for the passengers if you max out all the rooms, 1,400 cabins including the suites, and about 1,100 crew that live and work on the ship. Okay, quick notes about the Virgin Voyages cruise ships and also the cruise line, because they do operate things a little bit differently compared to most other cruise lines out there. All the restaurants are included. A lot of other cruise lines like Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, Holland America, what have you, they usually have free restaurants where everything on the menu is free and you can just kind of eat whatever, like the buffet or the main dining hall. And they also have quote unquote specialty restaurants where, all or part of the menu is paid. You might need to have a reservation. Sometimes you need to dress up as a dress code, fancier restaurants. But on a Virgin ship, all the restaurants are included. They also give you certain non-alcoholic beverages for free. Like you can get soda for free. You can get juice for free. And that's also not something you usually get on most other cruise lines. I also have some, my favorite things is bring a bottle of water when I travel. So when I go to the airport, when I hop on a plane, I always have a water bottle with me. So on the Virgin ships, there's some self-service water refill stations to actually encourage you to bring a water bottle so that you can fill it up and you can bring it to your room or have it around the ship or whatnot. Finally, all the Virgin ships give you basic Wi-Fi for free. Again, this is something that's pretty rare in the cruise industry. All passengers get basic Wi-Fi for 2 devices. You can also upgrade to a premium Wi-Fi package for a fee if you want streaming access. But for most people, the basic Wi-Fi will be just fine, and everyone gets it as part of their fare. It's all included. Virgin is an all adults only cruise line. There are no kids areas. They don't sell fares or tickets to kids. So there's no playground or daycare or any facilities for minors. So they cater the whole cruise line and all the ships towards an adult audience. So as an example, they have a tattoo parlor on the ship, which is a very adult thing. All right, a little bit about the actual rates and the availability of the rooms for this particular cruise if you are interested. As of right now that I'm recording this on November the 20th, which is the week before this podcast is scheduled to go out. Right now, per the Atlantis website, pretty much all the room types are available, and the major room types breaks down as follows. You have suites, balcony rooms where you get a patio, a sliding door. You can walk out to the balcony, see the ocean, get some fresh air. A sea view or a window room where you get a window where you can look outside, but the windows never open on a cruise ship. It's just a fixed window. Finally, you have a inside room where no balcony, no windows, no view into the outside at all. But those tend to be the least expensive rooms and the cheapest way to get on a cruise. So a lot of times, the inside rooms tend to be the first ones to sell out, and also because they don't have as many rooms that are inside rooms. All right, on this particular cruise, one thing I noticed is that usually the suites are usually all sold out during the alumni pre-sale phase. And that phase started October 29th for both this July and also the August cruise. Public sale for both cruises started November the 12th, so about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Usually the suites are all done in the alumni pre-sale phase, but looking at the website right now, there is one suite type that seems to still be available to snatch up. I don't know if it's an error, because usually there's a wait list for suites as well. So anyways, just on the off chance this is available, I wanted to highlight it. This one suite type is called Seriously Suite, or it's got SS as the room code. And looking at it in detail though, some of the suites really are just larger versions of a nicer, certainly, of a regular room. So some of the suites are very grand, 400 or 500 or 600 square feet. There are multiple levels. They have like massive balconies with, like a jacuzzi and like all this kind of stuff. Those are like what I call like the proper quote unquote suites, like the fancy ones. These suites, they're like properly a class above and very different and much nicer than like a regular room. This seriously sweet room type that seems to be available for booking right now, again, assuming it's not a mistake on the Atlantis website, which is possible, it just seems to be a slightly larger, though nicer version of a regular balcony room. So it's got, another like 30, 40 square feet on a regular balcony room, which, it's useful, but it's not like massive. And the balcony seems to be maybe a little bit nicer, but not massively so. If you're interested in suites, might be something to check out. Call Atlantis. They do usually have a different process for getting their suites booked. But yeah, just thought I'd mention that, which is kind of rare. Anyways, onto the regular rooms, the ones that are not the suites. Right now, all the different balcony room types are available, which is good. A lot of people look for balcony rooms. They're kind of the most popular. The balcony rooms kind of break down on this particular ship into a few different types. So you have a solo balcony room rate. So that's for people who want a room all to themselves. They don't want to have a roommate. And it's a pretty good value if you are a solo traveler and you want a balcony room all to yourself. It's a lot cheaper than if you book one of the other balcony room rates, which are double occupancy room rates. And I'll get back to that in a moment. There is a XL C Terrace room rate for a slightly larger room if you want a little bit more space. You have the Central C Terrace and then the C Terrace. Those two room types for balcony rooms are your standard run-of-the-mill balcony room. Those are the most plentiful on this particular ship. And finally, there's also a limited view C Terrace where these rooms, just because of their particular location on the ship, the view out into the ocean might be partly obscured because of a pillar outside or like some other structure of the ship. Yeah, but they all seem to be available right now. So you kind of sort of get to have your pick, which is nice. Again, balcony rooms are really nice and they're the most popular, most sought after rooms by most cruisers. Moving on to the window view, or Virgin calls it the sea view rooms, there's only a couple of options here. There's an option for a solo rate, and there's an option for a double occupancy rate. Similarly, for the insider rooms, where there's no balcony, no windows, the solo rate and the solo room type is available, but the regular interior rooms, the ones that are meant for double occupancy or for two people, those are not available. So some of those are starting to sell out. But on most cruises, interior rooms, they tend to be the ones that sell out first along with the suites. That's just kind of how it usually is. So let me quickly explain, for those who are not familiar, this business with single occupancy and double occupancy, because it does affect the room types and the rates that you pay. So most of the times, most of the prices for most of the rooms are what we call double occupancy prices, or quote unquote, assuming double occupancy. What that means is you can have two people, two paying passengers in that room. So if you look at just any one of the rates that doesn't have the word solo in the name, for example, I'm looking at the Central Sea Terrace, one of the most popular room types for this cruise. Right now is listed on the website for $2,169 US. That is a double occupancy room rate because it doesn't have solo in the name of that rate. What that means is if two people will be staying in that room, they will each pay $2,169, and that's before you add the port fees on top of that. However, if for whatever reason someone were to book that exact same rate all by themselves, they want that room all to themselves, okay? They would need to take the $2,169 list price, double it. They basically have to pay two people's share of that price, but it's a double occupancy price. That's what we mean by a double occupancy rate, okay? Now, some of the rooms have the word solo in it, and those are single occupancy rates where you don't have to kind of double the price, because those rates are designed for people who will be booking a room all to themselves. So there's a solo terrace balcony room right here for $3,599 US. That is the price that one person will pay just to have that solo terrace room all to themselves. They would not have to double it. So that is the difference between a single occupancy room rate and a double occupancy room rate. I get a lot of questions from solo travelers, and a lot of the times the solo travelers also tend to be the ones that are also new to cruises and kind of going on a cruise for the first time. So I always want to take care of my solo cruisers and make sure they understand this very important difference. On the Virgin cruise ships as well, for the window or the sea view rooms and also for the interior rooms, Virgin actually has some rooms on their ships that are physically designed for single occupancy and for solo travelers. What that means is the room is smaller because they designed it to only have to fit one person in there and one person's stuff and not two. And also the bed is a little bit smaller. So instead of a queen size or a king size bed, it might be like a twin size bed. Just make sure you keep that in mind in case, you tend to sometimes feel claustrophobic in like smaller rooms, even though you're a solo traveler or you plan on bringing like a lot of luggage with you. It's just something to keep in mind if you're looking into either the solo insider room, the one without windows, or the solo sea view room, which is a solo room, but it has a window view. For the balcony rooms, no balcony rooms are physically designed and sized for solo cruisers. In terms of like the physical design, the amount of square footage, all of the balcony rooms were all physically designed to fit two people. All right, now let's move on to Joey's forecast and recommendations. You know how when you watch the news, they have like a weather forecast and they give it like some fancy name like AccuWeather or whatever. Actually, I think AccuWeather is trademarked term. Lawyers don't come after me. Okay, can I tell you something for real? Skincare is not really a sexy topic. No one's waking up in the middle of the night thinking, oh my God, I have to take care of my skin. I know I talk a lot on the podcast, I have a lot of opinions, and I have a lot of advice to give. But if you don't listen to me about anything, listen to me about this. You have to take care of yourself, and you also have to take care of your skin. I believe in it so much, and I think it's such a critical thing that I started my own skincare company, Serve Labs, to serve fun and functional skincare for everyone. And you know what? Not to toot my own horn, but people are always telling me, your skin looks so good, and I can't believe how old you are. Do you know why? Because I've been taking care of my skin for many, many years. But I know, for a lot of you, skincare just sounds like another chore. But I want to make it fun. And that's where Serve Labs comes in. Go to servelabs.co, servelabs.co, or follow us at Serve Labs on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, and discover how easy and fun it is to treat your skin right with Serve Labs. A lot of times when I give advice about an upcoming cruise, one of the questions I get more commonly is this gonna sell out quickly or do I have some time to decide? It's a big chunk of money to go on one of these cruises, okay? So a lot of people, it's hard for them to throw thousands of dollars on a trip 9 or 12 months away when they're not even sure exactly what their life's gonna look like in a year. I don't even know what I'm gonna eat for breakfast the next day. Okay, that's just the tea. So I like to give, with my semi-educated, semi-guesstimated based on my experience of working with Atlantis, how quickly I think a cruise is gonna sell and whether I think a cruise is likely to sell or not. So that, for a cruise that's selling really crazy fast, like the August Med Cruise that was announced for 2025, and that was the topic of last week's episode of the podcast. A lot of the rooms are sold out. If you want to go on this cruise, you should just book it ASAP, drop everything, and just go do it. It will sell out very quickly. For this particular cruise, it's selling pretty fast, not as crazy as the August one. August just tends to be, for whatever reason, the most popular and busy month to do anything in Europe. Going to Europe in August is really, really popular. The itinerary, I think, of the August one seems to be more attractive to more people. So definitely, I think when it comes to a med cruise, the ports makes the difference. The itinerary of the ports of call really makes the difference. And just being in August, sometimes just August seems to be very hot to visit Europe for some reason. This one, I think it'll sell pretty fast, but not crazy fast. I think it probably will sell out. I don't think it's going to sell out tomorrow. I don't think it's going to sell out in like a couple of weeks. So I think if you're a little bit on the fence about it, you probably have some time to think about this one, especially if you're not picky about the exact room type that you want to book. On the flip side, if you know you want to go, there's really no reason to delay because rates usually go up over time. So you can go to Atlantis website, you can look at the published rates for the different rooms right now. Over time, this happens for almost every single cruise. The only time where the rates don't go up over time is if a cruise is selling poorly. It's just basic supply and demand. Think of any good that you can think of, right? If something is really high demand, prices go up. Okay. If something is not selling as quickly as the retailer expects, they'll put a discount on it. So if you are quite sure or you know for sure that you want to go on this one, book it now so you can lock in the lowest rates because rates very most likely will go over time for this cruise just like they do for most cruises. The other situation where I will recommend you want to book it right now is if you definitely want a solo room and you want the solo rate. Okay, so right now, again, as I'm looking at the website on November the 20th, there are 2 solo rates available. So that's the Solo Insider, I1 is the code, and that will get you a solo single occupancy rate for a inside room. So that's the smallest room you can book. Is barely 100 square feet, and it has a relatively small bed. It's like a twin size bed or something like that, thereabouts. So don't bring a ton of luggage, but it is the cheapest way to get on this cruise. If you're thinking you would spend most of the time outside of your room anyways, which is what happens for most people. If you're going to be in your room just to like sleep, change, and then there's so many things to do outside your room, honestly, that for a lot of people, their room, they don't hang around in their room that much. This is the cheapest way to get onto the cruise. And you know for sure you don't want to have a roommate, that you want to go solo, you want a room to yourself. The Solo Insider I1 rate is quite attractive for that. And I would say don't delay and just lock it in now. All the solo rooms will sell out even if the cruise doesn't, just because there's not that many solo rooms. And I'm fairly positive there's going to be way more solo travelers that want a solo rate than there will be the number of solo rooms. So go snatch that up if you're interested. The other solo rate that's available right now is the Solo Terrace room, which is the one I explained before. The quirk about this one is really good value for getting a balcony room all to yourself, because I think it's $3,599 is the rate for it right now, the public rate. It is starting to sell. This one will sell as well. All the solo rates will sell out, trust and believe. The quirk with this one, it's just a minor quirk, is that you don't get to pick the exact room you're going to be in with this rate. For all the other rooms, you will get to pick the exact room. You can like look on the deck plan and work with, when you book on the Atlantis website, they have an online reservation system. You book any of the other rates, it will pop up the deck plans, like a map of the deck that you can look and browse to and pick your exact room. So it's like, I want room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you get that room right away when you put down your deposit or when you confirm your reservation. With the Solo Terrace rooms, it doesn't work that way. So Atlantis will assign you the room probably at the last minute, maybe like a week or two before the ship sets sail, at the worst case. What I'm thinking is they're kind of sort of giving these bookers like ungenerously like the leftovers of the balcony room so that they can kind of pack as many people onto the ship as possible. That's kind of sort of like the price you pay, or the trade-off, if you will, for having a relatively inexpensive rate for a balcony room. It's actually a good deal. If you look at $3,600 to have a balcony all to yourself, it's actually quite a good deal from that perspective. And the fact that you can't choose your exact room, I don't think it's a huge deal. Other than those two groups of people, I think you have a bit of time to think about whether this cruise is for you or not. In the summertime, you have a lot of options for travel. That's kind of when everyone wants to travel, right? So if you're not too sure this particular cruise is for you and you are not gung-ho on getting a solo, one of the solo room rates, I think you have a bit of time, especially if you're not too picky about the type of room that you want to book. Some people might really want, for example, the XLC Terrace room because they know they want a balcony room, but they know that they want a slightly bigger version of that room, not just like the regular size room, because maybe they're trying to fit like 3 people in that room. Maybe they know they're going to have a lot of luggage. They just want to have the extra space for whatever reason. Those people, they want a very specific room type. There's only one of that room type available. So like, if you're going to be picky, it's going to be harder to have the luxury of time to make up your mind whether you want to book this cruise or not. Finally, though, I do want to mention that even if this cruise sells out tomorrow, hey, it's possible. Anything is possible these days, honestly. You can still get on a cruise. There has never been a sold out cruise that I haven't seen someone who really wants to get on it not be able to get on. So even if this sells out tomorrow and you don't make up your mind until the springtime, like March, April, May, June even, there will be boys that have booked the cruise early on, like now, that in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, life happens for whatever reason, they can't go or they don't want to go anymore. And then they will likely post on to Facebook or wherever that they want to sell the room and they want to transfer the room to someone else. Yeah, so even if the cruise sells out tomorrow and, you then feel like, damn it, FOMO, I missed the chance to book the cruise. Don't worry, there will always be boys trying to get rid of the rooms. Maybe not right now that we're like 9 or 10 months away from the set sail day. But as we get closer, later on in the winter, in the new year, probably in the springtime, there will be a bunch, especially when it's 2 or 3, even a month before the set sail date. Sometimes things come out at the last minute. Someone gets a job, someone gets married, someone has kids, someone, moves halfway across the country, they move to a different country altogether. Life happens and people, for whatever reason, can't go on a vacation that they purchased and booked 9 months ago because they just didn't have a crystal ball and couldn't see what the future held for them. I'm going to give similar advice compared to what I gave last week about who is this cruise good for? Okay, because I feel like different cruises on the Atlantis calendar are good for different people. If you want a European cruise, or you live in Europe, or you're going to be in Europe around that time, and you want a gay cruise. So for those two category of people, that's where the European cruises, either this July one or the August one, makes sense. And if you have the luxury of choosing between the two, it's just going to be your preference of the ports and the dates. Maybe July works better for some people. Maybe August works better for other people. Maybe you prefer one itinerary over the other. It's pretty much identical ships. They're technically different ships, but like when you're on the ships, like the design of the two ships are carbon copies, basically. You won't really notice that you're on a different ship. The pricing is like a little bit different. The August one is a little bit more expensive because they knew the demand for it's going to be a little bit higher. Yeah, but if you're not going to be in Europe at that time, you don't live there, you weren't going to be near or in Europe at that time, and you're not set on a European or a Mediterranean cruise, then I wouldn't buy a ticket to fly to Europe just to go on this cruise. But if you just want a cruise, like a Atlantis cruise, and you live in the US, go on one of the US ones. There's no point in flying all the way to Europe if you're not wanting to see Europe and you are not wanting to like get off the boat at the different ports of call. But the Med cruises, the European cruises, it's a lot more about getting off the ship at the ports of call and doing sightseeing. Like the ports of call is kind of like one of the big highlights of doing the European cruises. All the Med cruises, though, they're a really good mix of the ports for doing sightseeing, tourist stuff, really interesting ports, really awesome cities, and partying on the ship at night. So it's really good mix of crowd. If you're a first timer, These are actually quite good cruises to go on. Again, assuming that you're gonna be in Europe or you're based in Europe or you specifically want to go visit Europe. There's a really good range of like the age groups. A lot of international with that fly in, and obviously you get a lot of people that are living in Europe, the Europeans going on this cruise as well. It's a really diverse mix of passengers in a lot of different ways. It's a really good mix of people that go to the parties and people that want a relaxing vacation in like a good way. Sometimes you could be on a cruise where it's just a lower key cruise, and not as many people go to the parties because that's just not their thing. That's totally cool. There's some other cruises where it's definitely more of a party crowd that go on the cruise, and the parties get more rowdy and they get super, super packed. So different Atlantis cruises, there's like something for everyone. This one kind of sits for me in that Goldilocks on that range between a super relaxing cruise that's quieter and not that many people go to the parties versus the other extreme where it's like, this is a party cruise, a lot of parties on there, very rowdy, parties are jam-packed, they go all night. The Med cruises are always like a very nice medium. Very good number of people go to the party, so the parties are like nicely filled out. You party for as short or as long as you want. But there's also a lot of people that are there for like a relaxing vacation. So, it's not like the party doesn't get too crazy. I hope I'm explaining that well. Sometimes words come out of my mouth and I don't know 100% whether they make sense or not. But yeah, it's a really, really nice one for first timers. If you happen to be a first timer and you want to visit Europe, it's on your list, or you live in Europe and you want a cruise to go on as a first timer. There you go. All right. I hope all of you are enjoying this cruise and travel podcast so far. Please subscribe. There will be more just about every single week. And until next time, bye, y'all.